you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. The sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout Coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today. Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special pack tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
Welcome to Deep Dive, where we dive deep into geocaching topics. Each episode features in-depth discussions and aims to provide a deeper understanding and appreciation of geocaching and to inspire listeners to explore new aspects of our great sport. And tonight I'm joined by the island trip man himself.
Ooh.
Do you say Caribbean or Caribbean?
You know, I say both. Actually.
Okay, good.
Depends on what I'm talking about.
Hey, the more the merrier.
You might go down to the Caribbean, but you might have Caribbean food, right? So
absolutely.
I use those interchangeably, and I'm probably both wrong when I say either way, but
they're both right.
But it was a lot of fun, I can tell you that.
They're all right. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about the trip, or is that?
Yeah. So again, this was a vacation. This was not a geocaching trip. Like, this is a family vacation. It was actually booked for our 25th wedding anniversary. So What started off that way, it still ended up being that, but we brought the kids along because it's the last time that we'll probably have everybody living in one house. Yep. So our oldest, as I've mentioned before, is leaving Saturday. She's moving out to South Carolina for law school.
Yeah.
So
good job.
We want to take the opportunity to get us all together. You know, we'll still vacation in the future together, hopefully. I mean, we always have. But it's going to be a lot harder, especially for her for the next 3 years. But so it's kind of cool going down there. The day before we left, we got our last county. We kind of timed it out to get our last county in Florida.
Wait. Time out. You finished the state?
My first state I've ever finished. I know.
Oh my gosh.
I almost toyed around with the idea of not finishing it just to be funny, because I've got two or three other states that are like one away.
Hang on a second. Breaking news: Memphis Mafia.
You're so funny.
Finished the state.
Yes, I finally finished the state.
Wow, that's awesome though.
We made it our last one. But before we were going off on the cruise, and it was interesting because we did that. Then we picked up. So we went to 3 stops, like, standard cruising things. Did all the research ahead of time. Went to 3 stops. The first 2 stops, Tortola and St. Croix. So U.S. British Islands, cool. Virgin Islands. And got caches with no problem. The only problem was finding caches. So we brought some trackables to launch from down there. Some little ducks with trackables, to launch them off to race us to our next vacation location.
Very cool.
Problem is, I could never find a cache that was big enough to put them in.
Oh no!
So they started in Miami, or started in Fort Lauderdale. Went down to 2 islands, and then came back. And I got to drop them off here to keep racing them because I couldn't ever find one big enough.
Wow. That's okay.
Even if it says it's a medium, when you get there, it's not always a medium or not always a regular.
We know
or
that.
even a small. Even if it says Travel Bug Hotel, that doesn't mean you can actually put a travel bug in it.
Dang.
You research so much from afar, but so for me, picking up 2 more countries was great. That's always fun.
Oh yeah,
that's the vacation was awesome, right? Finally going back cruising again. Post the world ending, I finally trusted enough to go cruising again. When we get to the final island, which is Coco Cay, which is in the Bahamas, well, it's a private island, and everybody was in all of our groups. Everybody was talking like, "Oh, this is the best part of the whole trip." I'm like, "There's no geocaches there. It ain't the best part of the trip. Y'all don't understand how to plan this trip." So we did pick up 2 more countries. We got to go to Coco Cay. It was beautiful. The
That's
whole trip was
awesome.
awesome. The weather was perfect the whole time.
Man.
I indulged way more than I should have, but you know what? It was vacation.
It's a cruise. I mean, you got to do it.
But overall, it kind of there's still one more mega I'm going to make it to, which is Coin Fest, of course. But it's put a good cap on our geocaching year for like our first year of being in Florida.
Right.
And it wasn't tons, but it was a lot of stuff. You know, we got a lot of old caches this year, went on road trips. Didn't cache tons this year, but cashed in a different way. Kind of leading into, you know, what we're going to talk about tonight. And the funny thing is, just like 2 days ago, after we had already talked about, you know, what this show is going to be, Christy goes, "We're done with the counties. What are we going to do now?" I was like, "It just so happens we're talking."
Funny you should say that.
She was like, "I don't know what we're going to do this weekend," you know?
Yeah, but, that's funny.
Yeah, so it was good. It was a good wrap up. Back in town, back in the country and everything else. I'm happy and kind of re-energized and looking at it. We got to set new goals now, right? We got our counties, we got our crews, we got to set some new goals again. So, of course, my answer was, well, there's always Georgia. That's not that far away, but
and there's
that's a whole different conversation.
There's like 1,400 counties in Georgia, I think.
I know. I think it's like 159, which is a lot.
94. Yeah, there's a lot.
There's small counties. Now, I may not be right. I may not be right on that number. I thought it was like 159. Somebody in here will probably know, but in the chat room. But I've only done the top third, so I got the bottom 2/3 of it. I might as well get there and do that as well, right? So, it was a lot of fun. It was a good way to end the summer, a good way to end our first year in Florida.
That's awesome.
And, you know, life gets started back on a normal schedule because this is the first summer I've had off like that, so I didn't know what to do with myself. I did a lot of stuff, but as much as I could. But now life starts back again. So.
Yeah, back to school.
Yeah,
and but
it was great. It was great.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, I'm really happy for you. I heard, you know, I was hoping for it's 159 by the way. Hodag says.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, one other thing, we also booked our next cruise. I think I told you where we're going next. Yeah. So
Alaska,
we booked our next cruise, not our next one, but our next big one.
Yeah.
Because we're in Florida now, so we can take the 2 or 3 day cruises.
Oh yeah.
That are cheap, like last minute. But our next big one, we've got Alaska booked. So
that's
hopefully
awesome.
By that time, it'll be close to being our 50th state. We have a couple, 2 or 3 states to pick up still, but
that'd be cool. Be very.
We kind of stopped that type of caching when it made it harder to travel for pandemic stuff, and we're trying to pick that up again. So. But yeah, so Alaska, I've been wanting to go to Alaska my whole life. So this will be.
Oh, yeah,
great.
Me too. That's awesome.
I've heard there's some caching up there even. So.
Yeah, sound like the shout out to our friends up in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
The geocachers up there are pretty excited about things. So,
Cache Fest Alaska cruise. We are doing a cruise, but a Cache Fest Alaska cruise would be awesome. I'm still pulling out hope for Cache Fest Alaska one day. I'm just saying.
Or a Cache Fest Alaska, make it on a cruise ship. Although you can't do a mega on a cruise ship, that wouldn't work.
No, that would be kind of hard. But you could do a mega in Alaska, and I'm just saying would be pretty awesome.
That would be cool.
Speaking of first megas in state,
yes, we have some news. I guess it would be special. Let me do special again. Kind of breaking news. I mean, maybe not.
People have heard, but it's still breaking news. I think it's pretty.
People have heard. Yeah, tell people.
Oh, I thought you were jumping in on it. So.
Oh, I can or you can, either way.
Why don't you go ahead? You do it.
All right, I'll. So, Cache Fest Oklahoma has gone mega.
Woo.
So yes, GC AB90Z, and I got to come up with a really good. If somebody can come up with a really good mnemonic, for GC AB90Z, if you're in Canada, if you're one of our friends in Canada, so it's mega, which is really cool because we are already starting planning. We are meeting with the Oklahoma Cachers soon, and we're going to discuss with them about what we can do with them to kind of make this like very epic. It's going to be incredibly epic. One is Cache Fest is not like any other mega. I mean, we do things completely different. So if you're like, I've been to a mega. If you've never been to a Cache Fest, you've never been to a Cache Fest mega. They're completely different. So you want to keep that in mind. If you are going, or if you're thinking about it, you want to get your reservations, because the Embassy Suites it's also a conference center, and we're having the mega at the conference center in the lovely AC. So
yeah,
we're not in a barn, or we're not outdoors, we love going caching, and it's in the right time of year. So it's outdoors. We're doing it the week of July 4th. So there will be a night of fireworks and celebration on top of that, but we're going to be in the cool AC. So this is going to be wonderful.
No doubt.
So come join us, lounge in the AC as we go. I wonder what the poor megas are doing tonight. The poor megas.
The peasants, right?
So definitely get your reservations. I'm not just saying that to fill up the host hotel. We asked for a book of rooms, a block of rooms. We filled those. So we went back to the Embassy Suite, says, hey, we need another block of rooms. Like, okay, here's another block. They filled that one. So we went to a third one, and we're like, if they keep giving us that, there's going to be no more room in that host hotel.
How cool would that be, though?
Oh, it'd be awesome to have almost every room. I mean,
yeah, that would be a different experience to have it all in one place like that.
It will be. For the mega, yeah, I agree. Yeah. You basically, you're staying, you're upstairs, you come down, you're at the mega. I mean,
it's like Geocache Hotel, right?
How cool is that? Yeah. And we have this coming year Cache Fest perks. And trust me, you want to stay at the host hotel for the perks, because
there we go.
You're going to be, Geocacher Suites Hotel, the Bill on the Move.
That's right. I wonder if we get them to change their sign for that one day.
Oh, absolutely. That's going to happen. Yeah. That's going to happen. 2 vaults this year instead of 1. So that's going to be awesome. We are in sort of multiple locations. So it's not just like, hey, we're going to, XYZ city and everything's in that city, even all the side events. Instead, we are doing Norman and Oklahoma City. Norman's basically, sorry, Norman, but you're kind of now a suburb of Oklahoma City. Norman, Moore, and you're Oklahoma City. Boom, there you are.
Yeah.
So we got events that we're going to be scheduling up in Oklahoma City, so you get to see and be at all the cool things. There is so much. I mean, I'm going to work on a list. Last time for Memphis, I had like 96 things. I'll have at least that many for Oklahoma City.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, yeah,
including Cattleman's, the best steak in the world. But we'll get into
it is the
best.
Day, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. So there we go. There's a quick thing about Cache Fest Oklahoma, and we're gonna get into it. So you can reserve your hotel. Go to cachefest.com, get it in there. People can't wait. So that's awesome. Hey, Retro Gaming Gal. It was good seeing her in Memphis, so that was cool. All right, enough. Let's get into the topic tonight. Tonight's giveaway, by the way, #bored. We're not bored, but we're going to talk about it.
It is possible to be bored in geocaching, though. It happens to all of us.
It does. I talked to somebody today, the other day. They're no longer a patron, which is fine. I mean, that happens. which by the way, we really could use patrons. It's $3 a month. I mean, come on, throw us a. It's like the buy a coffee website you can go to. You can buy somebody a coffee. Buy
Oh yeah,
Jesse and I. Buy Jesse and I a coffee. Although it's really cheap coffee to be $3, but $3 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, come join us. But I talked to him because I usually send a note and I go, "Hey, is there something we did?" Because I always want to know if there's something that we did. And the person said, "No, you guys are great. Show's great. I just don't cash really anymore." And I was like, "Okay, no problem." I mean, I'm just, I didn't want there to be something,
right.
That we did, but
right.
I was surprised, really was, because the person that that told me that, it's like I would never have put him on a list of people who I thought would become bored with geocaching.
Right.
So, but you're right, it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
You've even said, I mean, I wouldn't say you got bored with geocaching, but you got, I don't know how you would put it. You got restless about.
Yeah, and I've gone through that several times over the years. So
Okay.
I tend to overdo everything I participate in anyway.
Oh,
so
I know.
I'll get in and get all deep into something, and that's all I'm doing for a while. And I play, like, we joke about it a lot of times, but one of the coolest things about this game is there's so many different ways to play it. Well, I'll find one little small section and I'll start hitting that until I get bored with it, and then I'll move on to something else. And so in general times, the family will go, and we'll just do it kind of casually as we do it. That's just whenever the family gets together, we get into it. After Cash Fest, like I mentioned before, my dad's gotten back into geocaching again.
Yeah.
And really more, he's done geocaching before, but he's never really kept up with what he's doing. He just kind of does it casually. So we kind of got his records together, and Dire Wolf.
Got a couple. Here we go. Got a couple coffees tonight.
Thank you, Dire Wolf.
Thanks, Dire Wolf. Appreciate it.
And
appreciate the super chat.
Turns out, like, he's gone to 5 states already. He's got a bunch of counties. I think. Mississippi the other day while we were there. So he started collecting. He's like, "Oh, I've done more geocaching than I thought." So it's newer to him. He's getting excited. But so over the years, we've always kind of been caching. Everybody in our family kind of caches at some point or another. But there's definitely more times where we're reignited. Once a year I have that trip that I talk about. Me and the boys, we go out. I say boys because the last few years, but it's been mixed groups before too. But and I'm always charged up after that. Now the first day I get back, I'm worn out, but after that, I'm pretty charged up, and that gets me charged up. Or when we find a new goal and we start going to something, we get charged up. But now there's newer caches here now, obviously because I moved. But like in Colorado, I cached out the area, so every time it was a trip to go somewhere. So you had to get into other things and up and down. Like if people look at the yearly stats, some years will be like 20,000 caches. The next year you'll be like 400. It'll be all this up and down. So we've definitely gone up and down over the years. And there's times where, and I'm going to exclude times where you have a bad interaction, right? When you have a bad interaction, like your caches get stolen or something like that, you get burnt out.
True.
But that's different. We're talking about being bored. And it's just because you kind of been hitting it a lot, and then you're like, okay, your energy backs off, or you've done the same thing for so much, you're looking for something new.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And, it's one of those things where it was brought up in the chat room. It's okay. Maybe bored is not the best word for it. Okay, blast. You're never going to get picked, buddy. If you keep changing it, he spelled board wrong, and then he did that one. So
I think he got it right first, though, and then went crazy.
He might have, yeah. Yvette could win. She did it right. She got the board, but yeah.
I think Cash the Line said it good.
He did.
Become repetitive and unintriguing. That's a good way to say it.
I saw that.
Yeah, I don't want to say bored because the game's always awesome, right? We love it. We go back to it. But maybe you just overdo it for a while or something, and it becomes repetitive. I think that's a good one. But sometimes you're like, you're just not excited by it. And how do you get back into that again?
There's certain things that people have done, and I think you've mentioned this. I've heard it more than once, and that is people who are like, "Oh, we need to finish our 365 challenge, so we need to do." We need. Oh wow, we look at them. We look at the calendar like, oh, we need to pretty much do all of December.
Yeah.
And then they find a cache every day in December, and then by the time January rolls around, they're like, I don't want to see another cache for a while because I am burned out. Because people get burned out, so it's kind of. I mean, that's
burnout happens too, though.
It does.
Or just not having any specific goal. If you're just going out geocaching, for some people, they're like, okay, I found a bunch of lampposts lately, and I'm just not excited right now.
Yeah, Sparky
slump. I like that.
Slump.
Yeah.
It's kind of a slump. So, oh yeah, absolutely. Pizza Ninja. Yeah, group caching gets his batteries charged. The Pizza Ninja, he's such a social butterfly anyway. He just wants to be. He just wants to be with the people. Which is great. I'm the same way. I'm a huge social butterfly. I'm a huge social butterfly. I want to go out with the folks. One thing, before we get into the actual suggestions, one of the things that I want you to comment on, which was, I remember there was a point, and you could probably go back and tell me. Well, I think it was either 2,000 caches or 3,000. I think it was 2,000 even. This is a while back. You'd found a couple thousand, and you were like, I don't know where I want to go now, and I'm kind of burned out.
Yeah.
And you found challenges. I think that's about the time.
Yeah, I think that's when I started getting into challenges. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So tell folks maybe about one.
So there's a couple distinct times I can remember. One was when I was getting we'd done kind of a lot of stuff, and then we got deeper into challenges. And as everybody knows, that's one of my favorite things out there. I think it just adds like a second layer to the game. And for me, for a long time, that was our number one thing we did when we went out is we went for challenges and find a new challenge. And, we go through the normal challenges like everybody's gone through, the Fizzy and 365 and stuff like that. And then you start looking for other challenges. And, and I think for a while that energized us for a long time, because although once, like everything, we went in so deep that it seemed like we had too many overlapping challenges. So that can get you too, right? You're like, I need this for this, but this is for this. And, what are we going to do today? And
that's almost for another
the
show,
other one,
right?
More of a burnout. But when I was in Colorado, I got started as a joke because I hated earth caches. And then I got to, just making silly ones. And then I got into making a lot. And then I got into making a lot more. And I've done the same thing with where I go. I just overdid it. And I'm like, okay, I need to back off and do something different now. That's all I seem to be doing. I back off and do something different. So 2 or 3 times I've had to reinvent what we're doing to make it still fun, right? Because like somebody mentioned, go to a new area. Well, yeah, definitely. That's the number one thing I'd always recommend. If you've been caching in one area, go to a new area. That'll spice it up again for you.
Absolutely.
But you don't always have that ability, right? Not everybody has that ability all the time. If you can do it, that's probably the number one thing to do. When you get somewhere new, everybody's charged up, right? But digging into something new has kind of helped me 2 or 3 times. Challenges, where I goes, earth caches, those were something I hadn't done before and even didn't necessarily like before I started them, and then got into them, and you're like, it's like brand new. It's like getting into something brand new again. So
you're exactly right. I do like Lost Ken's comment about if you get bored with geocaching, hide some cool ones of your own. I tend to pepper in. I just hid one the other day, a puzzle, which I'm not really a big puzzle guy, but I was inspired, so I did this puzzle. I think I don't want to get too far off track, but let me go take a look. The Certitude has one correct, which was me double checking it again. And I was like, is this really right? I was like, is there that many people that can't figure this puzzle out? It's not that hard. But people, that's for a puzzle talk show, which is people are overthinking it way too much.
Yeah, thinking it's harder than it is.
Oh my gosh. I sent a note to a guy and I was like, he's like, let's see, the letter R. If you go back in Old English, the letter R was actually used as it's like, dude,
Yeah.
you are so far, you're down some rabbit holes. Okay, so so let me share my screen real quick. But I'm having a ball doing it, and it's sort of energized me to do more puzzles around here because people can't do a puzzle to save their lives around here.
Yeah.
So
And
let me
that brings up something good too while
share
you're
my
bringing that
screen.
up. A few people have talked about that.
Yep.
Hide caches. That can totally re-energize you, and that can be, you may want to just hide caches for a while. Look, 1 and 147. What level
And the one
difficulty
is
is this?
the one is me. It is 3.5.
Well, that's a pretty difficult
It's a
puzzle though.
3.5 1. I was not. I found a spot, and it's an LPC. I know. Don't hate me, but I loved the puzzle. It's the plural of Lego. You know what the plural of Lego is, right? Lego.
Oh,
That's
I
the
would
plural
assume
of
it's Lego
Lego.
or Lego. Yeah.
So if anybody wants to really screw with the the Greenville geocachers, you can go solve this puzzle not right now. Do it after the show.
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah. Anyway, but hiding puzzles is kind of one, or hiding caches to me has always been something that does energize me.
yeah. And I think there's a lot to say about that too. So obviously, if you can go to a new area, that's what I would recommend first, right? Anytime you get to a new area, it makes it more fun.
Yeah.
Second, hiding can be a lot of fun and frustrating, but it can be a lot of fun because on the
Yeah.
opposite side of it, you get to
Yeah.
watch other people's reactions to the caches, right? And
Right.
if you're not just throwing pill bottles under bushes and you're getting creative with your caches, it's going to take you some time to come up with
Right.
them, come up with a good story, come up with a good theme. And we've talked about that many times, but it could be, that could be what you do full time. There's a lot of people that hide, like Chad. There's a lot of people that hide way more
Yeah.
than they'll ever go find.
Oh yeah.
They like doing that side of it, and geocaching is all kinds of sides, right? It's not just going out and finding 100,000 geocaches. It's all the parts of it. And even to expand a little further, and it's like a broken record me saying this, but we're talking about it, so I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
Don't just do the cache types you've always done.
Yes.
Try something new. People will help you. You can reach out to other people and like, I've never hidden a puzzle before. I'm not good at puzzles. There's somebody around that's good at puzzles or where it goes or whatever else,
Yep.
and they can help you do that. And anytime you get to hide something brand new, that's a lot of the first time you hide something new, that's a lot. It's like the first time you see the little bolt. The first time y'all ever saw a little bolt on a like a fake bolt on a guardrail,
Yeah.
it was the most amazing thing ever. You don't
you're
get
like
that
incredible
twice, but the next time you see a bolt, you're like, yeah, I've seen this before. But the first time you
first time you do an LPC, you're like, oh my God, you can put something under here? I mean, come on.
yeah,
this is awesome.
I wasn't able to sell that very well to my family, but
no, yeah. For many, that's the first. You're like, I did not know that there's anything under there. So yeah,
no, but I would definitely say, if you're in a slump or whenever you get in a slump, because everybody gets to them eventually. You've been caching for like 50 years, so you have to have gone through some slumps. Travel and then really think about putting out some really neat caches that you can watch and see, whether it's a hard puzzle and you can see people struggle, or whether it's just a fun, family friendly container or a new cache type. You can energize yourself for quite a while doing that. I think that's, if you haven't done that before, and a lot of people have never even hit any caches,
which is to me is criminal. It's criminal if you don't.
Maybe, but I'd rather them wait until they're ready to hide one. Also, I mean, I definitely encourage everybody to hide them, but you only get to hide your first cache once. Try to make it kind of cool.
Yeah, you're right.
I would wait, get some ideas, and hide it or whatever. Everybody's got their own theory, right? But I think hiding a cache, hiding a new cache type, doing a really creative one. The logs that you'll get in, I think, will be worth the effort for a while, and to get you excited about finding caches, or maybe just like the ones you hit, you want to go find one like that somewhere. I think they can do well for you.
Yeah, I think that I'm with you on hide quality.
Yeah,
I'm concerned though when I see way too many people who I run across who have found 2,000, 1,500, whatever, and they've
Yeah.
never hidden a single one. And I'm thinking, you, you know,
Yeah. Like,
as
why
my
not?
friend, yeah, as my friend David Reeves always says, he has a blurb that he'll put on caches or in different locations, but he's like,
Hmm.
you need to thank the makers, because if the makers, and this should include everyone, the makers, without the makers, there are no geocaches.
No, no.
If people aren't hiding them, you can't go find them.
Right.
There you go. That's a good
Yeah.
put
I
that on a
definitely
shirt.
encourage everybody to do it unless there's circumstances. I encourage everybody to hide at least one cache. And then get
Yeah.
into it, see if you like it. Be creative, do that fun stuff. It'll
Oh,
add
absolutely.
another aspect of the game for you. If you're just
Yeah.
hiding right now, finding will add a whole other part of the game for you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you can get energized, just drive around town if have some time, and just sort of envision locations that are possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know that when we first moved to Greenville, I knew there was a mystery cache, and it was over at the Cotton Museum. And so I was like, oh, well, there's not even a cache here, because it was a cool cache, but the final was down the road.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so I talked to them. I said, hey, and uh, actually, it was what really inspired was when that mystery cache was like finally archived. I was like, oh, well, there's not even anything out here anymore. So I went and talked to them. I said, hey, let me tell you more about geocaching, so forth, so on. And they're like, oh yeah, that'd be great. So it's like, I know it's awkward at the beginning. I mean, we've all been there where you're like, hey, I'd like to put a geocache here. Oh, well, let me talk to you about geocaching, because most people haven't
Yeah.
heard of it. But once you get past that, and once you get the permission, man, talk about fired up. I mean, I put I've got two out there at the Cotton Museum, and I always talk to the folks out there when I go out to just say hi, and they're like, "Oh, we love the fact that we have geocaches here." So it's like,
Yeah.
wow, this is awesome. So once you make that connection, you'll get other connections from that.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so yeah, hiding can be a real big thing. So all right, so we wrote down some ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the ones that I wanted to talk about, which I think surprisingly, I think that some people maybe forget about, or
Mm-hmm.
is the fizzy grid. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
people, I know that people are like, oh yeah, well, yeah, we have all kinds of folks that listen and watch the shows. The fizzy grid is finding a cache of every difficulty and terrain.
Mm-hmm. Pretty standard.
And yeah, pretty standard, but it can really fire you up if you go to if you're like, oh, I've never heard of the fizzy grid. I mean, I have friends that geocache, not all the time, but they do from time to time. And I'm like, so when did what how many do you have any slots left in your fizzy grid? And they're like, fizzy grid. I think I've heard of that. And they're like, they just never thought about it. And then once you tell them about it, you're like, oh, it can open up a whole new
Yeah.
world. And we'll get into three-dimensional fizzy grid here in a minute, but
Mm-hmm.
I still remember the time when you finished your fizzy grid. And I remember it was it wasn't Miley, it was Hallie, right? That she's the one you had
Yeah.
you, you had her go up a tree,
Yeah.
not a big tree, but it was you had her go up the tree, and you're like, we did it, we finished fizzy grid.
Yeah. It was a
So
legit 4.5, which to find them legit is hard, right? Because
yeah,
that means it's easy to see, just hard to get to.
exactly. And
And
it's sort one of those interesting, you know, one 4.5 is kind of a
we
weird
had to
thing.
go to a different state to get it. In
Oklahoma.
fact, we went to Oklahoma to get it.
Yeah. CC Retro Gaming Gal. She's fairly new to the game. She's never heard of Fizzy, so it's out there. We need to Oh yeah. So yeah. Jeff's right. Sometimes they've heard of the DT
Grid,
Grid,
not Fizzy. Yeah,
not
and the original
Fizzy,
from Fizzy Magic and everything else. We've talked about the history of it before, but yeah. So if you go on your statistics on geocaching.com, the grid that's starts at 1 difficulty, 1 terrain, and goes all the way to 5 difficulty and 5 terrain. There's 81 slots on there. The basic Fizzy that we're talking about right now is just getting 1 in each one of those slots. Right, so you find a cache that's 1-1, you find one that's 1.51, and so on, 2-3, all that. That's quite an accomplishment, to do. And yes, we know that there's some cheater areas where you can do it. There's cheater areas where you can do everything, right? But in general, seeking out those, like we've talked about before, seeking out those and legitimately finding all those can be quite a task. There's some people that don't ever finish it because they just can't. They don't cache in an area that has everything. Yeah. But especially if you're new to challenges or new to any of this at all,
right?
Fizzy Grid is one of the biggest accomplishments people do early on. That's one of the big 3 main, with the 365 and the streak and everything else. That's one of the big challenges going up to Jasmine or whatever. But Fizzy's a pretty big one and a pretty big accomplishment the first time you get it. But now, there's more.
Yeah, but there's many more. Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of the what I consider 3-dimensional Fizzy. Okay. So what are some of the ones that really jazz you as far as doing tricked up DT? Like, what are some of the ones that come to mind that you're like, oh, and some people may not have thought about this because there isn't really, I don't think there's any way to really, I don't know if you can always see these, but you can do them yourself. So what are some ways to trick it up?
There's actually a couple ways to do it. I've done both over the years just because sometimes I like playing with stats. I go down that rabbit hole. Sometimes stats is what gets me excited again. I look at weird stats on Project GC, but if you're and I believe it may be a premium member thing on Project GC. I don't know because I unquestionably renew my premium membership every year for Project GC.
Oh yeah, me too.
But on Project GC, if you go down and you look at your Fizzy Grid or your DT Grid, you can now there's a little selector switch on the right. Yeah. And it'll do everything, and it'll also do for different cache types.
Oh, wow.
You can do ones for puzzles, multis, earth cache, where I go. And so you can work on just a Fizzy Grid for one particular cache type for all cache types. There's challenges out there to just find a Fizzy Grid. And then there's one to find it with all traditionals.
That's cool.
And then I've seen ones where it's find it with no traditionals. So any other cache type counts.
Right. Any other one. Right. That's a cool idea.
The only ones they can't really do are events because you can't, you can only do, terrain can be all the way up and down, but difficulty can't. So you couldn't do a full 81. But very few people have done the Earth Cache Fizzy. That's a hard one to get to. One of the ones I like with that is the Where I Go one because I like Where It Goes.
Yeah.
So I have not finished that grid because I just haven't come across all 81 combinations without finding some weird cheater one somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I've done several, but they're generally, along that middle band. There's a lot of those that you don't come into contact with.
Yeah.
I don't find that many Earth caches or multis, so I'm nowhere close on those. Puzzles, I think I've done the puzzle one, or if haven't done it, I got 1 or 2 left. No, I think I have done that one. And I think I've done the traditional one as well, with just traditionals.
This one's kind of up your alley from Brad. It's a Mississippi's Fizzy Challenge. Requires not only all 81, not only all 81, but also you need a cache from every year. So you have to have.
So it's kind of a Fizzy Jasmer, not Jasmer. Yeah, I guess Fizzy
mix,
Jasmer.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
I like
that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's a neat idea.
I've seen some of those too, like limited Fizzy. So there was one in Colorado before the release of it's Denali 41's cache out there. It's a challenge cache from years back before they re-released.
Right. The pre-moratorium.
Yes. No, not challenge. When they
The
released virtuals and started giving
virtuals.
those out,
Gotcha.
It was find all the fizzy combinations available in Colorado for virtuals.
Oh, okay.
Which I know nowadays limited list. This is an older one, whatever. But it wasn't all 81 because they weren't all available. But it was a fixed list because there was no new ones coming out, right?
Right.
But there were multiple ones of certain types. It was extremely hard because you're talking about some really, really hard virtuals that were in Colorado. Yeah. But it was great. Cool. I went and signed that challenge. I'm still not qualified, never got to finish it. And I immediately started trying to plot out what we're going to do. At fun. The time before they re-released it, that was one of the ones that got us really excited about it was we were going to get every virtual in the state of Colorado. Right. Now, nowadays that changes, so you can't really do it as easy anymore. But it was kind of spurred on by that one challenge.
Yeah.
I don't remember how many it was. It might have been like 40 something combinations at the time, but that's a huge thing to get. I mean, that was travel all over the state. That would have taken us a couple years of like that being our main focus for a while to be able to do that.
Yeah, that is awesome.
One little thing like that, or trying to get like, your fizzy of all the multis, which I will never do, by the way. But that's a huge thing. That can get
cool
you
idea.
Fired up again. You got to do the research. You got to travel to get to it. You got to have everybody on board to do it. That's like starting over the game brand new. You're that fired up about something like that.
Yeah, one of the things that wasn't really on our list, I'm going to throw it on the list, but really, before we get into some other ones, and that is just Project GC. Just that alone is incredible. I mean, get into Project GC. It's not that expensive, in my opinion. Everybody's got their own financial issues,
right? Absolutely,
but I think it's worth it. Like you said, I always, two things. I always have premium membership in geocaching, and I always have Project GC. Those two things are, and I try to tip Nick once a year on Cashly. Those are the three things that I'm doing. My treble. I'm doing all three every year, but get into Project GC, and we'll do it. We'll save it for another show. But the badges.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the badges. Those are so cool.
Oh my gosh, that is wild stuff. So,
and you can loop them now. So there's so much. We'll talk about that another time.
Yep.
You can play around with those things and get re-energized doing a whole bunch of it's like a brand new game again.
Yep. So another area that you've done some, and I'm really, that's really jazzing me of late, probably for the past couple of years at least. I mean, I'll go with my Motley Caching crew team. We'll go, that keeps me jazzed as well. It's kind of like you and Barry and the group. But county caching, state caching, and region caching. I didn't realize this. If you get on Project GC, wherever you are in the world. So I know we're in the US, but we have international listeners. So go check out your region. So if you're in Germany, you can do all the states in Germany. Australia, you could do every province in Canada and Australia and so forth. And you get the idea. So for us, finding every county in a state like you just finished is another cool way to sort of energize yourself. I use both Project GC and I use Cache Tour. I'll put it in I'll put in the show notes too, but cachetour.no is my favorite go-to tool. And you can combine the two. So you can do Cache Tour NO and it'll show up if you use the little tamper monkey thing. It will link it. And so you can look on Project GC and see a purple line of what you've planned through Cache Tour.
Yeah.
And so I love that because
together.
Yeah. And so you can combine the two together and it gives you this nice cohesive look. I'm trying to plan for a trip at the end of August, right before Labor Day. and I'm working on that as far as like, okay, how can I get this just right so I can get this certain number? Because I've got some weird, some of the states don't play well as far as like, it's like Georgia has these, is sort of like a mishmash. There's no real, it's not like the panhandle of Texas where you could just drive across it and just go cash.
Sometimes it's harder than you think. You have to do a lot of planning.
Do some planning for that. But
I love caching or region caching. That can really, like we've been doing that lately. It gives you a whole new,
oh yeah,
you're just caching differently than you have. And not that it's the only thing we'll ever do, but it gives you something brand new to get into. And there's a sense of accomplishment, right? Because we'll just use county caching or, the grid or whatever. When there's a visual representation of the goal you're going for, not just like 1,000, 2,000, milestones are cool too.
They're
Power
cool.
trails may be a new thing for you, but for county caching and for the fizzy grids, for me, it's neat to be able to see something and go, all right, I filled in this little part. And it's just digital stuff, right? It's funny what we'll do for little, a new digital marking or badge or whatever else.
Yeah.
It's just fun because it's something, if you do it as a family like we do, then you kind of get together and see what you're doing. And that, it may not, these things may not be for everybody, but we're just throwing out several suggestions. And we're going to get into some smaller ones here in a second that we'll kind of fly through. But if you haven't, I know many people have probably done more than we have with those first two things that we talked about, but there's people that haven't done them yet too. So that's why we want to make sure we mention them. I know they seem kind of global, but we're going to get into some smaller things here too.
Yeah, we are. We kind of hit some of these weird, or not weird, but they're sort of more on the map and less individual type things. We're getting into some individual ones here, but I mean, think about other states. Don't just, I mean, we did all 254 in Texas, which took us a while. It took some trips, a lot of windshield time, but it was well worth it. Loved the process. Loved. It was one of those where it's like, enjoy the process, which we did. We enjoyed, getting all the counties in the state. So look at it as something that you just can really look at and go, we're in the middle of it, or at the end of it, you're like, okay, so, like Christy said, well, where do we go next? Because she liked it. So there was something that you could do. So yeah, let's switch gears. What are some other ideas that you could come up with?
So some of the other ones we talked about, and we'll just kind of touch on them a little bit because we'll run out of time or whatever. And we'll have several in the notes too. But one of the things I got into for a while was trackables.
Yes.
So some people have done them, some people have never done them. That's not currently our thing, although we did just release we're releasing 4 new trackables for the family or whatever. But getting into trackables can be fun too. Let's say you've cached out an area. There's still probably some trackables in your area. So we got into a while. We just got into going after trackables mainly, even on caches we'd already found, just to move them closer to their goal. And or resurrect them or check when the caches aren't in the cache and go and write a note saying there's no caches in here. Send an email to the owner and say none of these caches, trackables are still in the cache.
Right.
Just get into trackables for a while. Finding some, moving them around, depending on how much you move around, it can be kind of fun.
There was one the other day because I don't know if you remember this, but it's been a while now. But I had a little Winter Soldier Funko kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to send this to Tampa because Jesse just moved to Tampa, or the Tampa area. I know you're not in, but so the other day somebody sent me a note and they said, hey, do you want me to take this overseas? And I'm like, oh, is it in Tampa? Did it make it to Tampa? I was like, oh, Jesse's on his trip. I got to send a note when he gets back. And then I looked like, yeah, has it moved? It's like some guy was going to take it all the way overseas. Like, no, I thought he'd taken it to Tampa and then was trying to take it from there. Unfortunately. But anyway,
that is the part of the game, right? It can go anywhere because some people don't pay attention, but
it can.
There's a lot of aspects. You can release your own trackables.
Yep.
You can just move trackables around, which is it can be kind of fun because it's something you can control, but it's also something you can't control. So it's kind of fun to do that.
You can really go on a hunt.
The hunt, right? Yeah. It's just like finding geocaches, except for they move. So
Yeah.
you may not even get there in time. May have already moved to another cache, right?
Mm-hmm.
But another thing to do, and we can't even barely scratch the surface, but I want to mention it tonight. We've talked about it before. And I do this every once in a while, usually once a year or whatever. It goes by a bunch of different names, but kind of a trackable resurrection party.
Oh yeah.
So go back, check all your trackables. Some of you may have 1 or 2 trackables out. Some of you may have 1,000 trackables out there, right, over the years.
Right.
They go missing. If they've been missing for a long time, like 6 months or a year or whatever, what I'll do is I'll email the last person that had it in there. Last person either had it or the last person cache it was in, and say, can somebody check? Put a note on the cache page. Somebody check on this thing. If it's been missing for 6 months or more, a lot of times I'll make a proxy and I'll send it back out again.
Right.
And that's like getting all new. You may have 10 trackables that have gone missing, and you've never you own that code. So
you own the
send
code.
them out again. Make a cool new toy. Maybe figure out you got 10 missing. Maybe make 10 new ones. Put them in a travel bug hotel somewhere and link them all in the description and make a race between them.
Absolutely.
You want them. I've never been to Italy, so I want these to go to Italy. And they're all in a race. Make up a story, and people like to move when you make up a story, but you may have 10 or many more trackable codes that's already sitting there and they're kind of dead, and you can renew them and send them out again.
Yeah.
And that can be kind of fun, right?
Send them toward a friend.
Again, but some of them will live,
Yeah. Like the one I sent your way, just for fun. It's like, I'm going to send one to Jesse just for fun and see what happens. But
and that's what we're doing with our 4 that we're releasing. We're sending them. We're trying to see if we're sending them to Alaska, because we know that's a big trip we got coming up. So
see if they'll show
if they can make it up to Alaska.
And it's incredible when they, with it's kind of another show, but it's incredible when they make it. We always tell the story about, we were in Denton, and somebody had found your Michelin.
Oh yeah,
guy, and so Ken, he handed you back your own trackable, which that's like a wild moment. How often that can happen is one of those cool things. So
I'm a sucker too, because I think I put it back out again as one of the promotional ones, and I went missing.
Probably.
So, yeah,
it's gone.
It is what it is. But I mean, I signed that thing. It says, "Are you going to put this out?"
Yeah.
And I signed them saying yes, and I truly put them out there.
No,
they almost always go missing, but you know what? Whatever.
But they're fun. They are fun. You're right.
So we kind of talked about challenges. Go find some of those pre-moratorium challenges. Sometimes they're frustratingly fun. Like you got to find puzzles with all the first letters of my cat's name.
Right.
And they're silly or whatever, but sometimes it's just fun to do something weird like that.
Still
I have
alive.
seen those out there.
Yeah.
Another one I would say, if you're a more experienced cacher, find a new cacher to mentor.
Yeah.
I had one when I started. It's probably why I stayed in the game. I had a couple of cachers that really mentored me and showed me a lot to start off. And trust me, I was making all kinds of mistakes. But it kind of got me going, and they also helped me with like how to hike in dangerous areas and stuff like that. So that helped. But mentor a new cacher. You can find one. You can find somebody in your area, or go to an event and find somebody new and just say, hey, try to help them out. It will help them out a lot, and it'll help you, because that means more quality quicker in your area.
Right. Absolutely.
And we're almost
part of that.
I'm going to get these last 2 real quick.
No, you're good. I just want to make one comment real quick on that, which is, if you're like, I don't know how to do that. It's like, well, host an event, just host a meet. You don't have to be fancy. Just host a meet and greet. Just, something simple. And trust me, you're going to find geocachers in your town or area come out of the woodwork for this meet and greet. And you're like, oh, we seem fairly compatible. Let's maybe go find a cache or 2 together after.
Find your new caching buddy. That will change everything for you.
Oh yeah.
If you get a good caching buddy that you can hang out with that you haven't had before, it'll change everything. But so the flip side of that, host a meet and greet, or if you've been in the game for a while or you have some area of expertise, host a teachable event. Host a teaching event. Maybe you're really good at trackables. Maybe you're really good at
puzzles or
doing multis or puzzles or whatever. Host an event, help people. That's just going to add more to your area when they learn how to do that. Or it can be, we've hosted events before just on like HTML for the cache page, helping people make better cache pages. That adds to the area all the time, right? I mean, that's just huge. The benefit you see from that comes back really quickly.
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
And before we run out of time, I want to do two of them. One of them we're not going to be able to get to, but I want to do it anyway.
Yep.
Create some signature swag. Sometimes that's
Oh,
fun.
that's
It's
a
stuff
cool
to put in
idea.
caches, with your caching name or whatever. And I don't mean an advertisement for your massage business down the road or, Larry's Motor Garage. This is not an advertisement thing, but make some fun things. Like, you've seen those magnets with a little clear thing on the front and you can put little pictures in them. I love those things. And kids and adults alike love those things. Spend a little time, like
colored rocks
and stuff
yeah.
around your profile.
Yeah.
Make it more of like a team that you enjoy. And then the last one I want to mention before we give away prizes and stuff is, I don't even want to say this out loud, but I'm going to say it anyway. There is part of the game, I've heard a rumor that it's still active and live.
Still rumor.
It's called waymarking.
What?
I know, but
that's all the time we have for tonight. And I'm just kidding.
But you know what? I'd rather somebody switch over to that for a little while and get re-energized and then come back in the game. Technically, it's still in the game, I know, but and we are going to do a show coming up on one of the network shows about waymarking at some point. But
there's more to it actually,
and that's still part of the game out there.
Yeah, there is more to it than at first glance. By the way,
there is, and we're going to get into that. We couldn't even scratch the surface of that tonight because that's a live, thriving thing for people that like it, right? You and I are not waymark cachers. That's fine. Or waymarkers, maybe. Is that what you call it? You wouldn't say waymark cachers because it's not on the cache page. But anyway.
Waymarker finders.
I don't know. I think it's still part of it. And we could probably keep going for quite a while. But if you're getting bored or you've gone through a rough patch with geocaching or just life getting you back into it, out of it and you got to get back into it.
Right.
You don't have to just go back to finding pill bottles under bushes.
Right.
You can try so many other things to play for a while and get yourself energized. You may work towards a diamond badge on Project GC or, a challenge somewhere or one of these other things we talked about tonight. But we just wanted to bring up a few of the things you may not normally think about because there's so many parts of this game that you can really drill down into and whether you're competitive and you want to be the best in your state at whatever thing that is, or you just want to find something to get you excited again. I think there's lots of things to do.
Judy mentioned about benchmarks. I mean, they're still out there.
They're still
benchmarks
out there.
haven't gone anywhere
anymore on geocaching.com.
Yeah.
But they're out there, and we talked about it before. I've had some fun going after those in the past.
Yeah.
I haven't gone after them since they locked them up, but I'm kind of if it's not on geocaching.com, I'm not really getting into it, right?
Right.
That's my one website, but it doesn't mean they're not still out there.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere, but it's something you can still do.
Absolutely.
And there's some really historical. I'll never forget the one in Denver. For the state capitol, there's a benchmark up on the steps as you go up to 1 mile high.
And I found ones that have never been logged before, right?
That's
pretty cool. But
that is wild when you sort of are the finder of that. So absolutely.
So we need to not forget, we got to give away a prize.
Yep. Going to do our prize. Yep. So Geocaching Ninja mentioned he signed a challenge back. Yeah. That's kind of, you did 50, you made sure and did 50 online. You did more than that, I think, or 100. Was it 100?
I don't remember I think the hunt was for 250.
Oh, okay.
I finished off benchmarks before they closed them with 500 of them. So that's my even number that's going to stay forever. Right.
That's cool. Yeah. All right. So we're going to do, so the hashtag for nights, hashtag bored, BORED. So, or as Jen put, not bored with caching. That works too.
It'll still work.
It'll still work. So real quick, let me show you a couple items. I still have three of the original coins. I've got, I've got Geocache Talk. I have one gadget I think left, and I've got a few of the upside down geocaching with kids. Then I got still some bison from last year. I love the bison. They're cute, and they got the little roam the park on the back. Thank you to Shelby Farms. I have one. I think this is the only one I have left, but I got a red guitar from last year still hanging out.
Those are going to be antiques in no time.
I know. And then everyone gets, of course, the path tag, which is pretty wild. You gotta have in your hand really to appreciate it, because it's
got a lot of detail in it.
It's pretty detailed. So, all right,
Mhm.
let me bring this up, and we're going to hit the button, as it were, and we're going to get going on the giveaway. So here's the giveaway tool. All right, we got a good group tonight, and last chance, last moment. Bored, not bored. I like Direwolf's little comment there. That was cool.
Big money, no whammies.
Big money, no whammies. Here we go. And all I do is push the button, and we'll see who wins. There we go. There they go. They're spinning. It's spinning.
Yeah,
Lots of names going. Lots of names going. And the Nicole. And
Nicole's got it.
What
She
that
won.
means. I need to check my list.
Uh-oh.
But she's won before.
Hey,
so
random.
Let me check the big board.
We keep going. I mean, she gets it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're not going to win that many times. If it's truly random, we're going to have some repeats. It just is what it is, right?
We will have some repeats.
Yeah. It's not going to repeat.
I think she's only won once.
There you go.
No, I see her on here once. She won back in like week 6, so she wins again tonight. So it was a while back.
Congrats, Nicole. Woo!
Woo! Way to go, Nicole. You're a winner.
Yeah, we're not giving away a car, so it will be okay.
No, we're good. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody. We will see you guys. Sunday is Gadget Talk.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to that. And we'll be back next Thursday with another deep dive. So deep dive. So good night, everybody.
Good night.